Broadcasting live, this is the Handicappers Report, brought to you by the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Handicappers, coming to you live from the backstretch of Saratoga Race Couse on what I can only qualify as about as gorgeous as it gets. Maybe not me personally so much, but thankfully I wore a pink tie out there. But it is, I don't really understand meteorology, but the dew point must be about 48 because it's crisp, a very light breeze, and perfect. As I have said many times before, let's run the races now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is beautiful. Day two, nicer morning than day one. Day one, though, turning out the Thursday to be a smashing success all around. Even Mother Nature gave us a little golf clap to water the lawn after the effect. But
had a shower.
Great day.
What about the time? Ways and means, seventh
Yeah.
race. Brief shower, and then it held off.
Tightened up the
just in time for me to start my walk over to pick up the car back.
There you go.
But part way over, I got a ride. Somebody was nice enough to pull over and hop on their golf cart, so I got a little bit of a ride.
And I would say mostly what I guessing the people that I follow on X and such like that, I think are more good marketing study, middle of the road people. They're not vested in very much the first floor clubhouse or rousing success. They're not steeped in any like, where'd it go? They're like, this is fun. This is nice.
It is very nice, I think. But I will say, because yesterday we talked about the tote board, which some people were lamenting, and I was on that camp yesterday. It's the 21st century. We've lost other things, so the tote board. But then yesterday, this is wild. Yesterday, I probably watched at least 3, maybe 4 races down on the big screen, where I watch a lot of races and have over the years. Owners and trainers and people walk out of the paddock, and it's that big screen. Thankfully, they've kept that. Some other television, but so I watched 3 or 4 races. The race gets over, and if you didn't have the horse, you're kind of like, was that a long shot? What are the odds on that horse? If you did have the horse, you're kind of like, what did my horse go off at? And the odds. The chiclet and the odds disappear from the screen down the stretch. So muscle memory, force of habit, all 3 or 4 races, however many I watched, they came under the line, and I immediately went to see what the odds were. So now I'm kind of like, oh, I do miss it. I do want to see the odds. So it was strange, though. Like I say, it was just complete. Because after the first race, I realized it wasn't there, but I couldn't stop myself. They'd come under the wire, and I immediately went to look.
And new fans are going, "What's he talking about?" And that's the balance. That's I think it's great. For the old guy get off the lawn guy. I very infrequently resist change ever, like at any level. Like the 5 weeks started when I was 28. I'm like, maybe that's because I'm a capitalist. Try 6. Try 7. We're going to find out where it doesn't work. And, we can, I'm not invested in it, but I think it's glorious. And I said, I text you when I was down at Laurel. I have to, the first floor at Laurel is tremendous. I mean, it's tremendous. And besides the fact that they have the nicest restrooms I've ever had at a sporting event, but I mean, it's like
the new one up there is
nice.
Is clearly an upgrade.
Yes.
And they've done a nice job. The hall you walk in, they have these little tile mosaics that look kind of like old photographs.
Yes. I think it's great. It's going to be even greater today. And it might be greatest tomorrow.
Today, and again, the weather, we were keeping our fingers crossed, and it played out nicely. The racing was really good yesterday. Handle was very good as compared to Thursday Belmont week downstate. The numbers were very good. And so it's just a really nice day of racing. And so far today, it's gorgeous. And again, this is Acorn Day, so another nice lineup of stakes action. So
it's immaterial because they decided, and I don't read many articles on, but was there much discussion about they're running the Met Mile at the mile? Why aren't they running the Acorn at the mile?
I don't know. I wondered exactly the same thing.
Like, did they think there was going to be too many horses in it, and
I wondered,
But I was like, that seems to be the same thing. I mean, the Acorn's been a mile. I mean, the Metropolitan Mile, etc. But they're going to go 9 furlongs. And I say, it's a different race. It's 2 turns. It's a mile and an eighth. So the distance is different, etc. So, but the Acorn is going to be 9 furlongs around 2 turns. Out of its usual 1 turn, 1 mile distance, and we're going to run a 1 mile race. But I didn't.
Fun yesterday. I had Marshall Graham on. So our
dang.
First day, bang, we score with a guest, Almost Gone Rocket, looked really good yesterday in the Jersey Girl. The other step, What in the Lateral, Jenna Nucci's horse looked very good. The Gray Wizard, after 2 miles.
Was that you?
After 2 miles.
Did you like the Gray Wizard?
I had the horse in the mix. I don't think I had it on top.
And what was the deal with Long Neck Paula being scratched? Left the grounds, went someplace for a pool, didn't have permission to leave the grounds, and had to be scratched by the stewards. I didn't know that was a thing. It's my horse. I'll take it. But if you find out, it's not your basic steward scratch. It's something I'd never heard of before.
There was also a situation with Irod Ortiz. His horse acted up the gate a little bit, injured his ankle, and went to the hospital for X-rays. The X-rays turned out negative. But as of last night, they were still, we'll see how I feel in the morning kind of thing. So keep your eyes on the Irod mounts today. And, hopefully he's back in the saddle.
Yeah, we'll see. I want to say kudos to the Capital District because, school is still going on.
Yeah.
I mean, there is.
Although, isn't school out today here in Saratoga? Didn't they announce? I can't hear what you said.
Oh, we've become like Australia. The school's out. A sporting event comes to town today. So now we see where education is. It's like downtown. So school is out in Saratoga. Our son, yesterday was his last day of school. He goes to a Catholic school, but the public school kids are, the community we live in. They have school today. They announced a while ago to the Capital District that. I'm shocked though. There's no school today, of course. Well, I hope they're busing them over to the track. I think they got nothing else to do. We'll babysit them.
You're thinking it's Saratoga? No, it's the 4th grade.
It's a 4th grade. It's a great idea. I hope they did that. I mean, and for the people in the high school, I hope they are coming over today.
Absolutely.
Don't they have that day like at Keeneland, University of Kentucky? They call it College Day.
They definitely have a college
But obviously
day,
Kentucky is the main school in Lexington. But I hope it's elementary school day today.
Absolutely.
Bring them on over, show them pony rides and everything. Who needs the old open house the Sunday before the meet? We have it today. But did they have school yesterday?
I'm not sure. I know today was
closed.
Off.
Well, there you have it.
I'm not sure.
Maybe they're helping with the betting handle. So, the 18-year-olds, that is. The seniors. Only the seniors. Or some of the athletic juniors. But, it was tremendous. It'll be great today. I'm not a weather geek guy, but it's beautiful now. And I know things can change. I mean, listen, when I got off the stage yesterday and Seth was doing Race Across America, it was one of those moments. I wasn't so sure the grandstand was going to be left. It looked very ominous, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
And again, great day of racing. There was no repeats on the trainer side of things. Graham Motion wins that 2 mile. And he said, I don't know whether you and I was talking to people during the day, but if that last race was a Melbourne Cup win and you're in, and somebody said, well, so what do you think about the Melbourne Cup? And he said, I love the concept, but then he went on to say it's a haul to go over. So we'll, ask me in October. So we'll see if they take the challenge. But that was interesting. And the other stake I didn't mention was Studley Do Right coming in from Laurel. And that was a nice little late kick for that one to get up.
And also, I had in the mix, I think, the Audacious, the part of the entry that we knew would get bet, 2 to 5 scored. But the firster from Shug from the rail finished 3rd. I was trying to think, didn't Graham have Yes. I had the straight trifecta and Summer Whirl, Graham Motion's first time starter that I had in the third slot, ran third.
Yeah.
etc. But Strictly Taboo, Heart of the Night, and Summer Whirl. Now, here's something I've said to you before, because we're from a different generation. You probably don't have it there, so I'll just show you. So just look. If you were having a conversation with somebody our age, what would you say you had the trifecta for?
Oh, I always put it in a $2 increment.
Absolutely.
But
it's not an 80 cents. It gives it. I don't think it gives it any context of it, because I think at the end of the day, you think like 80 cents. I'll give you the best example.
I get why though. When they first reduced these, I think a lot of new people didn't quite it. They looked at the board, saw a $2 payoff, and they had a 50 cent. So I get why they did it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'll give you the best example. Last year in the Lake George. Lake George Stakes early in the meet. Here was my closest friends, the two wives, etc. The four of us. So I have a strong opinion in the Lake George. Surge Capacity, the Chad Brown runner, who I think had debuted at Monmouth, was making the second career start, big jump. So I'm like, well, let's play a superfecta. I said, but I have a strong opinion. We had an opinion. So we hit the super, and it comes up $80. And my wife looks at me like, big deal. I go, we have it 10 times because we play, I play dollar supers. So it comes up, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think, because as I said, I'm not resistant to change at all. And I think you're right. It's a bad look to put up $800 and the person goes to the window and gets 80.
That's why.
So I agree with that. But in conversation, my thing is like I said to my wife, I had a $360 try because that's what I'm betting. I'm getting. I said, but she goes, $80. Where are we going with that? I go, 2 dinners at 15 churches where we're going, honey. She goes, what? I go, when you go to the window, make sure you get 8 C notes. She's like, oh, I forgot. I said, we're not betting dimes here. So that's that. So that my point is the trifecta for 50 cents came back $87, but I don't talk in that. I think the word is parlance. No, it's like, what'd you have? Is it $360?
During the day when I'm doing the handicapping show in the afternoon, I kind of chart how I'm doing during the day.
I hope so.
And when I put down exacta and try prices, I do them for $2 just to, and then it's all,
And by the way, she looked at me indignantly, like we hit a superfecta and only paid $80, like we're getting $80. She was
still pretty good.
For I guess.
For a dime or 20
cents. For a dime, I guess you're right. You have to think of the increments. And I've said this to you before on the show. I said, can you imagine if we had fractional wagering in, like, say, 1974? We would be betting pennies. Adjusted for inflation, a 10-cent super would have been like 2 cents. You ready for the 12 race card?
Oh, well, let me get on the promos first.
Okay,
first of all, I do want to
go ahead. It's your time. We brought police protection for you, so make sure you can come and go. And
we have a big setup out here tonight. Do want to mention our friends at Impressions and Dark Horse, but Impressions of Saratoga today will have Greg Montgomery from 6 to 8 down on Broadway. Greg Montgomery, of course, has the great Travers posters. I'm told he did a Belmont Stakes poster as well. So if you go down to Impressions of Saratoga tonight from 6 to 8, you can get some signed merchandise from Greg Montgomery. Worth making the stop down. Again, Impressions of Saratoga, our friends down there.
I have one of those in the
they're great. Yeah.
Tremendous.
Does a new great one every year. And the Belmont State, there will be a collector's item. So again, that's 6 to 8 tonight. Also want to remind you, good luck to everybody on the bankroll team. Kevin Cox will be playing $2,000, $500 today, $1,500 tomorrow on behalf of the bankroll team. Everybody should have been alerted if you got on the team yesterday. But again, good luck to everybody on the bankroll team over the next couple of days. And don't forget the bounty bet today. It's the late pick 5 at Saratoga. There's $1,400 plus up for grabs. All you have to do to take your shot is play the late pick 5 today right here at Saratoga. Play it with your Capital OTB bet account, and you can get a shot at all or part of that bounty. And also, don't forget tomorrow at the Clubhouse Racebook. If you're not going to be up here at the track enjoying Belmont Stakes Day, swing by the race book, and you can also enjoy the match bet promotion tomorrow. Maybe win a little extra something. That's tomorrow afternoon. Clubhouse Race Book, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, now I'm ready.
I guess the ways and means, the late pick 5 yesterday, and it's part of the game that I don't, ways and means must have, obviously turned into a pick 4, because I thought it came back a little light with the $50 winner that who the heck could have had, et cetera. But
there was a couple of short pro. Well, the entry was just the race before?
Yeah, you're right. So that's what that would have been one of those interesting moments. They have a Gulfstream. Like to see how many live tickets after the 2 to 5 entry and the 1 to 5 horse were live. So that must be one of those examples where you single, you got down to a pick 3, you spread. The Gray Wizard was about 6 to 1, so he in the mix you wouldn't have to go that deep. So that's where Brian Edo would tell me he'd say, Anthony, that horse wasn't $50. In the thing because they can spread there. All right, 12 races today. We kick off at 12:20. The opener, 7/8 of a mile, 3-year-olds and up, maiden special weight.
Another one of those races where at the top of the page I wrote competitive. I'm 5, 4, 8, and 7. Command of Truth, Chad Brown runner, comes off a couple of decent efforts, a couple of nice improving efforts. Certainly the 3-year-old seasonal debut was a market improvement buyer-wise. So I think this horse has just come back as an improved 3-year-old. I think with the race under the belt, the cut back to the 7 today, I'll tilt in that direction. Luminaire in the second spot, Chad Brown. City of Light runner going first out. There's some decent workouts. City of Light is okay with runners first time out of the box. So I think that one with Irod Ortiz, again, if he's back today, is very playable. And then Josie Carroll brings Rolling Along down from Woodbine, and I just found that interesting in and of itself off a pretty good try up at Woodbine. Now, we go synthetic to dirt, but blinkers on, first time Lasix, and again, off a decent-looking debut with a solid number. So I'm going to go 5, 4, 8, and 7.
I talked about it, yesterday, by and large. I mean, guessing type, and you see I'm 6, 4, 1, and Escondido for our good friend Mark Penny. And I said, if you have Mark on this year, he probably should just tweet out. I think Lee Lewis is his oldest client when he branched out on his own in the early 90s. I know he had great early success with Team Valor, and he had great early success with Ned Evans, but Lee Lewis is in that early group for him. And this horse has quality workouts for the debut, an offspring of Collected. Don't sleep on him as a stallion. And, Mark heading with first is just sort of like Anthony Mormino as a public handicapper. He's a 10%er, but his ROI is 296. He had a big bomb winner earlier. So I'm just, I don't know anything. Then I have a Luminaire, as Seth mentioned, City of Light. You're usually ahead of the curve on early stallions, and he strikes me anecdotally as he should be pretty sharp. And then I have number 1, Todd Pletcher, Truly Warrior, I guess, offspring of Curlin making the debut. From the inside, 7/8, good luck, but 6, 4, 1 in the opener.
Second race this afternoon. These are optional claimers, non-winners of 2 other than. They're going to go 1.25 miles.
Must be getting the televisions prepared for.
I think you could be exactly right.
That's a thing, right? You did television production.
Yeah.
They used to run those. I think one year they called it the Easy Go, or the 1.5 mile race at Belmont.
Oh yeah.
For a race to get a little feel.
Also interesting.
We're not going to go into it, but it's a production thing. Sometimes you think like
just to set up the cameras and kind of test run.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Like what we did on Wednesday.
The Fox setup. I'm assuming National Fox.
Yes.
They're in the infield. Kind of, in the infield over the 2 turf courses in the finish line-ish area, which I've never seen TV out there before.
Well, I'm sure it'll give us a good view. As I said before, when I know many traditionalists, they want the pan shot for what we've been used to for 100 years for the first race. I don't mind. I actually enjoy, because of trip handicapping, I love the view on the backside over them, the drone. To me, that's and I want it in real time. I don't, I love to see, you can see if there's really space, no space. I love that shot in real time first time. 195. We agree a little bit here, not on top, but Arthur's Ride. I mentioned it last year that I'm no longer interested in layoff lines. It used to be for me, 2 red check marks, which is bad. But this horse came back for Bill Mott and ran unbelievably. And then I'm not surprised whether it was the slop or the regression. I'm not interested. I'm expecting a good performance from Arthur's Ride today. Seth has him in the mix also. Tappet Shoes on the outside of the starting gate. 1.25 miles, not as bad as the 1 1/8 coming off of a entry-level allowance. And Frankie Dettori, I'm pretty sure, knows there's a second race today. And for third, leading contender, 5. He's going to get in trouble for that, right?
I would imagine.
I mean, you have to get fined. I mean, it's like, he's one of the nicest, great people in the world, but come on back. We're not done yet. Right?
And his horse was on the AE list, was it? If you didn't hear, he thought his
left.
horse had scratched, and he headed home a little early, as it were. All right, second race for me.
Shane, come back.
5, 4, 1, and 6. Great movie, by the way, if folks haven't seen that one. Leading contender, Chad Brown and Klarovich runner, comes in off a little bit of a troubled trip last time, but I thought it was an okay effort. I think could be interesting at this 1.25 miles. I'll tilt in that direction. Costa Terra in the second spot, hasn't been seen since December, but it's Linda Rice with a runner that I think is clearly competitive with this bunch and has had a couple of races where we're in and around this distance. So I think this horse could be a player. The 1.25 miles off the layoff is a little bit of a concern, but I'll put that one in the mix. And then, Arthur's Ride. I just didn't know what to do off of that last race. The seasonal debut, the seasonal debut was obviously spectacular. And I would think we'll get closer to that, but the last race had me just a little bit concerned, certainly to put the horse any further up. So for me, 5, 4, 1, and 6.
And I'm certainly hoping that Arthur's Ride doesn't take the Baby Yoda route, where 9 races from now, that 101 is like, what? What was Baby Yoda, 114? I mean, it was otherworldly.
Right. It was.
And it shows you how you really almost have to discard it because you throw that out, he's the same horse. And kudos to Andy Sterling yesterday. I know they had some production problems with Talking Horses, but he let us know that ahead of time that the rails were going to be up on Thursday and Sunday. They were going to put them down for Friday and Saturday. And I bring that up. Why? Because the third race, start allowance, 9 furlongs on the inner. Not a distance during the traditional Saratoga we run very often, although I like it because the long run into the first turn, they run the majority of the 9 furlongs on the main. But I like the long run at the first turn. So the rails will be down. So I'll trust the teletimer more. 9 furlong starter allowance.
6, 4, 13, and 14. And I said yesterday, I don't like to use 2 on the AE list, but they're the first 2. And this may be a situation where one gets in, the other doesn't. It might be the 14. I thought they were both playable. If they don't get in, pull the 9 into the mix. But I'll go to 6 first. Yo Daddy, Linda Rice off the claim. Nice win. It was at a 50 tag, so now they move into the starter allowance level. But 2 starts back was in a little stakes race, and ran okay in there. But I'm more looking at the last race down at Keeneland. I think it could be a clever claim at 5 to 1. I'll take a little pop there. Victor's Valiant in the second spot, knocking on the door last time on the move up from Gulfstream. And again, it's one of those that off of that last effort, I think this horse is very playable. It just seems like over the last 4 starts, this horse has kind of started to figure it out a little bit at age 5, and the last was the best of that mix. And then, as I say, I'm going to go out to the AE list. Collect from Ike, some nice early speed last time. Now, that was on the dirt. Getting back to the turf today, I'm not quite sure. I thought, the turf races were okay. You go on the page, there are better turf races, but I'll put that one in the mix. And Liar's Poker for Christophe Clement. lightly raced. There's probably some upside potential. I don't know if you have to go too far up from the latest, but the latest was a conditional claimer. This is probably a little saltier. So again, if a scratch pulls one or the other of those in, take a look. And if not, Mo Rewards, the number 9 horses at the bottom of my mix. 6, 4, 13, and 14.
Are you familiar with the book Liar's Poker?
Oh, I know the book, but I haven't.
Michael Lewis, Blindside.
Yeah.
Of the books written in the 80s, it has my favorite line in any book written in the 80s that I've read about Solomon Brothers. So, guy, Liar's Poker with money. So he says, he goes, one hand, $1 million, no tears. The guy's response, make it 10. My favorite line. $10 million. So we're doing all right at Solomon Brothers at that time. I'm 894. Here's a question for you, and for the audience out there, especially with Equibase.com. Lord Flintshire. Flintshire, to me, is the greatest conundrum for Hall of Fame. Take a moment, look at his lifetime travels, everything, and as a world-class horse, it's the greatest debate there is. One of my closest friends thinks not on a bet, and I disagree, and I respect his opinion immensely. Lord Flintshire making the second start of the year. I like the comeback race in that I don't believe it was very taxing, unlike Arthur's Ride. This is just a nice practice-type race, and we move forward today, and that is my top pick. I have Mo Rewards making the second start back east from Mike Maker, and then Victor's Valiant going out today after a nose defeat at 1 mile and a 16. So 8-9-4.
All right, we'll head to a break. When we come back, we'll continue our look at the Friday Acorn card up here at Saratoga, and looking forward to jumping in on a nice sunny day. Weather-wise, again, very nice day up here, so stay tuned.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
The race for savings is going on now at DePaula Chevrolet. Pick your Chevy, pick your payment, and DePaula delivers. Or every Chevy, 0 down payment, 0 first payment, 0 security.
So come join the family and think DePaula for all your automotive needs.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report, live from the Saratoga.
It's so great to work with a former production guy, TV guy. Look at this.
I knew that wasn't
This
right.
is what a relief.
So yeah, exactly.
You want to get the brightness screen off, or is it going to go?
Well,
off
I'll do that. I'll do that when I toss it to you.
Okay. Because you're fine.
Right.
I'm so with all this data over me.
We're
but
looking at our monitor.
just to let people know, I was concerned. Seth sort of knew the answer. That you can't imagine what I was looking at in the screen. I was hoping our audience wasn't, and the guys assured me that they're not. And Seth fixed the monitor.
All right, we will head back into it. Seth, Merrow, Anthony Mormino again. Handicappers Report live from Clare Court.
There you go.
And again, no actual activity out here. I'm
No.
kind of surprised.
I am too.
That they
And obviously
but I
they
guess
told
this is
people
just-
because they didn't work it. And
Yeah, I guess this is just a game plan preseason because we're
Yes.
not usually here now. But yeah, that's why normally we're here, and it's great. There's horses working out behind us. But yeah, it's not open yet. Anyway, 4th race today, starter allowance types. They will go 7 furlongs.
now, on a side note, there was a horse that was literally walking around,
Oh, really?
and I think they got spoken to.
Oh, well.
There's
if
a
it's
lot
not-
going on here that doesn't go on
Oh, yeah.
in our
there is.
normal life.
Yeah.
I tell you one thing I've learned, Seth. On an exterior level, the Traverse Stakes and the Belmont have nothing in common.
You're absolutely right.
This
yeah.
is
no, it's.
I
will alert people to that. Yeah, so you made a great point. It's Belmont Stakes weekend up here, and it's a little bit of a different scenario. If at one point, if you go to the top of the escalator into the clubhouse, was the clubhouse, and you walk through, and there's the betting bays on either side.
Yes.
And if you take a right, that takes you down to the far end of the clubhouse. Well, when you get to the end of the betting bays and there's that opening that takes you down further into the clubhouse, you now have to have a special pass to get down there. There's a woman sitting there, and it's like, let me see
your pass work?
Well, my pass, I've got the golden ticket as a media person. So, but not that
your golden ticket is different than my golden ticket.
Not that I went down there anyway, but I didn't. So again, it is a little bit different up here this weekend.
Now we're mostly on the same page here, but I'll just say I had not as good a feel for this. Of course, the one of the horses I liked most of the first 3 days got trounced yesterday, but only, and what I've said it, don't pick the favorites when it doesn't come to you. So I'm on the field, really relying on two things. One is the Mike Maker angle. One is the most recent effort was a 2-turn race at Oaklawn, shortens up 6-1, just taking a flyer. Debate number 8 is my second pick. Seth, talk more about this horse. Been very competitive at this level, and I didn't have the gumption to put Musical Maestro in a race that I have no feel for. I probably should have. Adding blinkers, reported as first-time gelding, April 14th. We've talked about this for so long that it's probably believable. 6, 8, 10.
I am 8, 11, 6, and 5. I thought the 9 was a little bit intriguing as well, Lucency. But I went with Debate on top. Linda Rice trainee that's been knocking around this level for the past few starts, but has been doing it at 1 1/8 miles, a mile. I like the cut back today to the 7. So I'm going to put Debate on top. Again, it's Linda Rice. The numbers 2 and 3 starts back are going to mix it up with this bunch. Then you toss in that little bit of a cutback. I think there are plenty of things to like. Left them behind in the second spot for Barkley Tag, Saratoga runner. I said yesterday I ran into Jack Knowlton earlier this week, and he had some runners in this weekend. And the ones past opening day, I think he was a little more high on, which includes Left them behind. And so I think this horse comes in good form, knocking on the door. In the past few starts, 2 of those were last year. 1 of those was the seasonal debut, and the seasonal debut was a lifetime best buyer number. So I'll put Left them behind in the mix, and I think that 10-1 is a nice looking price. If we get that, own the field in the third spot. We're getting to period, a month or a month and a half after the meet ends. I take a look at those Oaklawn horses, and this one coming off some good starts, particularly the latest, I think is going to be intriguing in here this afternoon. So 4th at Saratoga, 8, 11, 6, and 5. And speaking of Jack Knowlton, Saratoga, I'll also toss in, I ran into Dan Collins yesterday at the track early. I wanted to find them later on because they had a first-time starter yesterday that wound up, I think, 4th or 5th, but was in the lead turning for home, and I thought ran pretty well. I wanted to get Dan's opinion on the horse. I mean, I had to be a little bit disappointed that the horse faded a little bit, but I thought it was a pretty good looking debut.
About 3 months ago, I was thinking Ocean's Reserve is his personal ATM.
Oh, that's a If you've got a little partnership like that, boy, those are the kind of horses you want.
On to the 5th, Turf Sprint, optional claimers, 2X.
10, 8, 2, and 4. Number 10 being Mischievous Angel. 3 starts so far. 2 of them were last year, including a Saratoga start that ended the season. Now has come back and again, seems to be an improved 4-year-old. Lightly raced as a 4-year-old, but on the improve perhaps with the 3-year-old experience under the belt. Little break, came back and moved forward. So I think this one is very interesting. Second spot, 20-1 on the morning line. Lark's Mischief. There is clearly far more dirt on the resume. There is a turf race under there that isn't great, but the horse did show some speed before fading, and this is a horse with some nice early speed, adds the blinkers today. I think could be very interesting. If we get 20-1, I mean, this horse is interesting at 10-1 to me. I think this horse could be a real player. Blinkers on, maybe with some early speed. Try to steal it on the front end, and then Script in the third spot. Grand Motion trainee, hasn't been seen since February 4th down at Gulfstream, but I have a feeling he's going to fit with this bunch, and comes in with a couple of workouts that seem to indicate, despite a few months on the sidelines, coming back on his toes and playable, I think, at 6-1. 10-8, 2-4.
6-10, 9. 9 for me. Seth mentioned Lark's Mischief at a big price would be in my mix. King Angelo is in my mix. But Bring Me a Check. I think the two races, technically not this year because he ran on January 7th, but the two most recent races, I think, are demonstrably better than they appear. And at 15-1, I'm happy to bet those type of horses from now till eternity. And at that price, I mean, I think these races, I think this horse is competitive in this race today. Certainly, you get past the 10 to me, I'm in with a bunch of horses. And as Seth, you're 8, my 9, etc. Then I have the 10, who make it the second start of the year. Enough time since the win in the comeback that was late April, and then King Angelo in a new barn. But 6-10-9, and I love, people call it chaos, so I'll go along with this, but I love wide open races, and I feel that this race is wide open, and I took a 15-1 shot. You have a 20-1 shot in second.
Maybe we'll have to box him up.
What?
Maybe we'll have to box him up.
Well, I mean, it's a great race.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck to the horizontals.
Sixth race today at Saratoga. Optional claimer, non-winners of 1, scheduled to go 1 mile on the grass.
I'll be interested to see. And here's Pirate, who won on debut and was a big thing. And so we kind of agree. I'm surprised. The reason I'm surprised is I think this race is like 8 deep. I mean, it's like, so I'm 3-9-6, and I like Hunt Ball for Bill Mott. Coming, second time versus winners, was very sharp on the turf debut. Army Officer is not an offspring of what? Army Mule. It's an offspring of Not This Time, which might be even better. Very sharp on turf debut. And then Spirit Prince, Christophe Clement runner, gets Lasix today as a 3-year-old, makes the seasonal debut. I wouldn't have been surprised, Seth, if we had 6 different horses covered. We actually share 2 opinions, but 3-9-6 for me.
I was just double checking, and all the races are on the grass today. Because at the end of the day, there was a little bit of a soaking rain that I thought maybe early, but
you can understand protecting it with the races.
Still on, so that's good news. I'm 9-7-6-12. I thought the one.
By the way, your escort to the track. Make sure the fans stay back so you don't get injured. Getting over.
So I'm good. They're going to wait over there for me until things
get you over.
9-7-6-12 from me, but again, the one interesting, but I'll put Army Officer on top. Frankie Dettori riding for Brad Cox. Turfway form was pretty good and improving, and then left Turfway and the synthetic and went to the turf at Churchill and ran very well. I think all of those races and a nice progression of buyers in the right direction maybe have this one primed for a very nice effort this afternoon. I'll tilt in that direction. That the outside-ish post position is maybe a little bit of a concern, but I don't think we're on the cusp of where I would really start to be concerned. And again, I have the 12 at the bottom of my mix. Just going to leave that one out at a price. But again, at the mile on the turf, the outside post positions aren't a bonus. Pirate in the second spot. I'll trust Todd Pletcher to be making an interesting move here, dirt to turf, with a horse that had shown some ability and certainly some promise as well. And then Spirit Prince in the third spot. Ended the season winning a nice little stakes race on the turf last time for Christophe Clement. And again, last time being the end of last season. But again, these are the kind that I think can even come back and prove. Lately raced 2-year-old comes back to start the 3-year-old season off a break, I think is very playable on that. In the 6th at Saratoga, I have it 9, 7, 6, and 12. And before we go to the break, I will fire up the Dark Horse play of the day, brought to you by our friends at the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga. And as I say, their sister store, Impressions, Greg Montgomery, who does the great Travers posters every year, going to have a Belmont Stakes poster as well. But Greg will be at the Sister Store Impressions of Saratoga tonight from 6 until 8, so you can stop down there. But dark horse play of the day today will be race number 7. Horse number 3, Roswell, 5-1 on the morning line. We ran second with the dark horse yesterday. Manama Gold, who ran okay. The winner was just much the best there, though. But I thought this Belmont runner started down at Gulfstream January and February, put in a couple of pretty nice little efforts, then laid off a couple of months and came back at Churchill at 7.5. And I thought ran an okay third. Another one off what we've seen so far, and then a little bit of a cutback in distance today. I think Roswell is very intriguing. Money's Gold is a 6-5 favorite, but hasn't been seen and has plenty of talent and may just be good enough and class up with this field and run away. But off of the layoff, I was willing to go in maybe another direction here. So for me, dark horse play today. Race number 7 at Saratoga. Horse number 3, Roswell, brought to you by the Dark Horse Mercantile in downtown Saratoga, their sister store and presence as well. If you're in downtown Saratoga over the weekend or beyond, stop in and say hello to Maddie and Marianne and the rest of the crew down there. Tell them you saw them here on the network, and I guarantee you will enjoy the visit.
All right, take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the spa.
It only takes one upset to make history, and now you can be part of Saratoga's long tradition at the Dark Horse Mercantile. The Dark Horse Mercantile offers a carefully curated selection of clothing, gifts, and home decor, from one-of-a-kind vintage racing memorabilia to select brands like Barber and Under Armour, as well as exclusive Dark Horse branded merchandise. So celebrate the Dark Horse in all of us at the Dark Horse Mercantile, downtown Saratoga, where the smart bet is always the Dark Horse.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 7, 6 furlongs, Phillies entry-level allowance.
Again, this was my dark horse, so I went over the top pick a minute ago. 3, 4, 8, and 5. I'll put Roswell on top on everything I said just a couple of minutes ago. Second start back off a layoff, and I think with a cutback is very intriguing. As I mentioned, Money's Gold could just class him out here. Ran very well last year for Todd Pletcher as a 3-year-old filly. Wound up the season, however, in the running third behind Pretty Mischievous in the test, which is one of my favorite races up here, certainly, and the Brad Tex.
Which means she ran 4th.
Oh, right. Yesterday with the Marshall Graham runner.
See, remember what I said last year, that would be lost in the future.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So, again, may just class out with this group. But, again, off the layoff, I was willing to take a little shot again. Sam Street in the third spot. Hasn't been seen since seasonal debut at Keeneland, but comes off a nice little bullet work down at Keeneland for Wesley Ward. Lightly raced, maybe still some upside potential. This one could be sitting on a nice race as well. So 7th race, 3, 4, 8, and 5.
You see, I'm in the same ballpark. I just took a flyer with Sam's Treasure on top with the upset. And of course, my horrible spin away pick last year, Sugar High in here.
8th race this afternoon, allowance non-winners of 1 other than. They're going to go 6.5 furlongs.
And yesterday we both did you like the entry here as I put up the things?
I have them underneath.
Okay, I have the entire entries like I had yesterday. I'll take either one.
I did, yeah, same thing.
Etc. So I'm 1E, 12, and 9. I have general partner from the number 3 post position, contrary thinking. on the outside. I'll take either one.
Didn't we eventually have the E? Point
No, he only gave us the A or the B. The E didn't make it yet. And then I have Jefferson Street and Lightman as a outsider in here. Offspring of Central Banker, who is the other son of Spicetown I was mentioning. But 1E, you have the 12 on top, so we reverse that. But we both like the entry as the entry ran yesterday.
Yeah, flip-flopped. I put Jefferson Street on top for Bill Mott. The maiden breaker at Keeneland I thought was impressive. And then the third place finish last time against, and I say it all the time, it takes a start or two to figure out the next level. And so got that experience at the level, and I could see this horse breaking through now with that one under the belt. And then, I like both halves of the entry. General Partner hasn't been seen since sixth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. Certainly has some talent, however, in contrary thinking, off a debut effort that was very good for Chad and Kolarovich. Potent connections, a couple of horses that maybe have some obvious upside potential for those potent connections. El Capi in the third spot, Rick Dutrow trainee off of this. I'm going to be interested to see what we get as odds, 4-1, but with the 99 buyer in the seasonal debut, I'll be intrigued to see where that one winds up as we get to post time. Now, the debut was last December as well, so there's maybe that to consider. But in the 8, 12, the one entry, 6 and 10.
And I don't think it's as dynamic as Flintshire, but look up Intercontinental's career someday. Why? Because we're running the Intercontinental Grade 2 Turf Sprint in the 9th.
6, 10, 8, and 7. I'll go with Roses for Deborah, who just the obvious selection here. Again, hopefully Irad is back in the saddle. He's listed on this one and has been riding it regularly for Christophe Clement. Seasonal debut was a stakes race down at Keeneland, and it was a solid win with a triple-digit buyer. I just couldn't get past her, so I put Roses for Deborah on top. Second slot will go out to number 10, Love Reigns. It's a Wesley Ward runner. Won the career debut. Hey, it's Wesley Ward, an April 2-year-old race at Keeneland, sprinting on the grass, wins it pretty easily. Then they go over and try Royal Ascot, ran fourth in a field of 21, so not a bad effort. Those were both back in 2022. Subsequently, lightly raced 4-year-old, but again, has shown plenty of flashes. And I thought the seasonal debut, finishing just behind Roses for Deborah, could bode well for this afternoon. And then our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds, they have Gal in a Rush, who ran very well to be a close-up second in the seasonal debut, sprinting on the grass in a stakes race down at Belmont at Aqueduct. So for me, I have it 6, 10, 8, and 7.
And my only thing with Roses for Deborah is, it's just a muscle regression after the seasonal debut. Last time, she ran a huge figure, she regressed, but there were legitimate, there were off turf courses, etc. So that's it. I'm just taking a shot against Roses of Deborah, who ran a bang up, seasonal debut. So our future is now, who is, I think, coming into the race very well. I have Love Reigns making the second start of the year, and then Gal in a Rush. But 5, 10, 8 in the Intercontinental.
And I will say, bringing up West Point Thoroughbreds, I didn't list the guests top of the hour, so just about 10 minutes away. Nice show today. Our friend Naj Thompson, I saw him out in the green room, as it were. He's the executive director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeders, and it's a big New York day coming up on Sunday, so I thought we'd preview that a little bit. Talk to New York Breds, Dave Grenning from the Daily Racing Forum. We'll talk some of the action coming up over the next few days, and Tommy Bellhouse from West Point. That's why West Point kind of triggered it.
All right. Take a quick break. When we come back, the late pick 3.
It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your number one choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet-friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
For more than 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 102-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients, served in a home-like setting. Some things have changed in the last 102 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
All right, stakes action in race number 10. We'll take a look at that on this Friday card. The Just a Game Grade 1 event. $500,000 up for grabs. A mile on the grass. And I'm going to go with the Chad Exacta, I think.
You could go with the Chad Super. I mean, except for the 1 and the 5, who are 12 and 15 to 1. I mean, it just said, okay, we see it similarly, but the same. And
I have your 4 in the 4 spot, so yeah, we're right in the same.
So we have the Chad Super.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's differences here. I mean, they're coming out of the same barn, yes, but there's some differences here. And I have Juddmont's. There's 2 angles for Copice for me. One is it's the second start of the year. The first one, the Distaff Turf Mile just got beat as the favorite, and I could, if he said to me, well, Anthony, the muscle regression at a short price, I would agree with you. But what thumps that for me is Kingman, one of the few. I mean, he's just a great miler stallion. We were slightly ahead of the curve on that, but now the curve is flattened out. White Beam for second, who won the Diana last year. And then Chili Flag for third, the winner of the Distaff Turf Mile. It's a complex race to me. I know one trainer has 5 horses in it, but I think it is a great horse race.
I think you could throw them up in the air and
yes,
really land it. But
yes.
I went with Chili Flag on top off the win last time. It was a nice win down at Churchill, Derby weekend, and so I tilted there. White Beam off the win in Diana last year attracted me. Came back and put in a seasonal debut that was a pretty good effort. But again, last year won the Grade 1 Diana right up here. So I think off of that I was attracted. And Gina Romantica, I have a couple of triple-digit buyers to end the year last year. The comebacker wasn't as good necessarily, and so I was a little bit concerned. I just have to think that she's better than that. We'll find out today. But for me, it was 6, 7, 3, and 4.
Because of the configuration of Saratoga, I've always liked the mile and 3/16 races because they start at the top of the stretch for the fans. We're going to run the Grade 1 New York.
6, 10, 2, and 3. I'll go with Fev Rover.
We have agreed far too much today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
but this is. I look back, just about this time, a little later, July. But the nice win. Up at Woodbine for Mark Casse, I thought was notable and hasn't been seen since the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, but that they elected to take the shot off of the great season up at Woodbine was intriguing. So again, this is the seasonal debut, but I thought the workouts were okay. I think Fev Rover is very, very intriguing. An 8-to-1 morning line, I think will hold some value. Why Warlike Goddess is in here, I just didn't quite know what to do with her in the 7-year-old seasonal debut. Ended the season last year in kind of fine fashion with the Turf Classic win against the boys, which was really good looking, but then faltered a little bit against the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf. She may outclass these, but at 7, I thought, I'll take the shot with Fev Rover. English Rose in the 3rd spot, Charlie Appleby runner, and obviously you just have to pay attention on that angle alone. 6, 10, 2, and 3.
Imagine McCulloch getting no love from us.
Yeah,
just think back. I'm 2, 6, 10. English Rose for me. Charlie Appleby. Fev Rover I have for second. I just want to say this about Warlike Goddess. I love her. She's been one of the few short price horses that I've loved. And what's amazing to me when you sit in our seat, you watch races all the time. Her 2 best races are one where she ran off the board last year. The 2 Breeders' Cup Turf races taking on the boys were outstanding. I mean, and it's like she's 15 for 18 hitting the board, and she ran 7th against August Rodin last year. But I just don't know. I mean, in the hands of Bill Modicky, keep on keeping on, I guess. But I'm 2-6-10 in the New York in another fantastic horse race.
And we'll wrap it up at about 6:40 this evening. Race number 12 is the Grade 1 Acorn, $500,000 up for grabs, a mile and an eighth the trip.
And I will say that the decision to run, at a mile and eighth really changed. I would have had a different pick, I think, at a mile. But I am with Seth. Our exacta is the same. And I think it is the same exacta coming out of the Kentucky Oaks. Torpedo Anna was, to me, a beast in the Kentucky Oaks. And I found 9-2 to be one of the best overlays for me, how I see races. Just FYI, I think is going to have a very nice 3-year-old season. But, she runs into, a beast, in my opinion. And then regulatory risk. I thought the race would have been more wide open as a mile race, but I really think our exacta, Seth, right now at this point in the 3-year-old filly season are better than the rest.
Yeah, I've said it a few times over the past few weeks that we had Kenny McPeak on the closing fairgrounds weekend and talked about his runners there and Turfway. And when the interview ended, he said, "Hey, we didn't talk about Torpedo Anna. She goes in the fantasy next week." And so I mentioned the horse all week long, and sure enough, she wins the fantasy easily, follows up with a big win in the Kentucky Oaks. I mean, she's at the top of the class right now, and I just think that's going to continue. Just FYI, is certainly interesting as the 2-year-old champion last year. And has run okay, certainly in the first couple of starts of the year. And then Gunsong, I thought the Mark Hennig runner looked good in the Black-Eyed Susan. Could be interesting this afternoon. 9-4, 8-3.
And obviously we'll be rooting for Gunsong and Mark to continue, but that wraps it up. I mean, this it could be one of the great days of racing at Saratoga today. The weather is spectacular. The 12-race card, the rails will be down, which I like. You have 2 Grade 1 races on the turf for the distaffers. Then you have a Grade 1 race on the dirt for the fillies. So it's it's hard to ask for anything more, but you can, and you'll get it tomorrow.
That's right.
All right, so tell the people again who you have.
Again, just a few minutes away, racing across America. Naj Thompson, Executive Director of the New York Thoroughbred Breeders. Again, New York Showcase Day comes up on Sunday, so we'll talk a little bit about that, the New York breeding program. Also, Dave Grennick from the Daily Racing Forum will join us, talking a little bit about the action over the next couple of days. And Tommy Bellhouse, West Point Thoroughbreds, have some nice runners coming up, including some nice stakes runners. Looking ahead, had a couple nice stakes winners over the past couple of weeks as well. So we'll hit on that with Tommy.
All right. He stays, I go. Have a great Friday.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.